Hello, you all, and welcome to another episode of Real Women, Real Talk. It is a pleasure to have you with us, and welcome to a safe space. We are so glad to have you. My name is Trinace Richardson, and I am the founder of Real Women, and I'm joined by my co-host. Who are you, ma'am?
I am the amazing Siobhan Carter, and I am one of the facilitators for Real Women. Hey, y'all.
You are. And if you are listening, you can't see it. But if you are watching on the YouTubes, you know that we are joined by a guest. We are so excited to have our guest with us today, and I am about to introduce her. We want you to share this out with somebody. You've seen it already because it's posted, and so you clicked in knowing that what the topic was and where we were going with this episode. And we just want you to already just share it with someone while you were listening, right after you listen, you watch. We want you to share it because it's going to be a true blessing to somebody who needs it. So ready for this conversation and ready for this conversation with this amazing woman. So we gonna do all the things for you real quick first before you can just say hi. You about to get all the things, all
You
right?
don't have to, but okay.
You about to get all the things. So um, Pamela Merritt Smith is with us, and she is a native of Gainesville, Georgia, and she has dedicated her life to facilitating emotional and psychological wholeness in her community. She's learned. So she has her Bachelor of Social Work from Savannah State. She's a member of my sorority. Hey, soror.
It's so wrong.
Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and she earned her Master of Social Work from University of Georgia. And she, as you can tell by now, a licensed clinical social worker. And she has really done a lot of community-based mental health work, fostering emotional wellness for hundreds of clients via individual and family therapy sessions. She focuses on religious trauma, gay affirmative therapy, and emotional harmony. She is someone who believes emotional health should not be over spiritualized or mysticized at the expense of secular forms of treatment. Child. And so we about to go some places. And so she's the founder of Harmonious Counseling and Wellness. That is not how I was introduced to her, but she is all of those things. I was introduced to her through the work and the ministry and the community building that she does with her husband, Christian Smith. In whether I think my first entree was Holy Smokes, but I'm now a member of the faith community as well. And this ecosystem that they have built for those who are interested in deconstructing harmful theology. OMG. The work that is done there, the conversations that are had, it has been life-giving to so many, including myself. And so just to experience how deep, profound, and needed the work is, but also how much fun y'all be having. Like I'm
We
just
do.
here for all of the kikieri. I'm here
It's
for all.
very intentional.
So I just wanted to say all of those things about you. And then it was so good to me. I've introduced you to my inner circle, of which Siobhan is one. And so I don't know if you have
Thank you.
anything before we let her say hi. You want to say anything, Siobhan?
One, I just thank you. Thank you for the work that you do with you and your husband, because Trinae shared some videos with me. And so just seeing the integration, when I heard the cursing, when I saw the drinking and the spiritual conversation and the mental health, I was like, these are my people. Like this is, I just love it all. And so I appreciate the work that you are doing and the knowledge that you have and how you're just breaking things down for those of us who have experienced church hurt and just trying to find our path and our way without, the things that we have been taught, and just breaking it down so that we can understand. So I really appreciate the work that you all are doing.
Thank y'all so much. That's
So
so sweet. And
yeah.
thank y'all for listening. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you for being open enough to be able to take all of that in, because that's a lot. you know, especially for Black church kids. We have a we do the things, but we don't do the things in front of other people. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of respectability that you have to get past in order to watch that and listen to that and be able to get what you're supposed to in the integration, because there are people that exist who probably would turn on a Holy Smokes episode, hear what are you smoking this week, what are you drinking this week, and immediately cut it off. So,
Yeah.
you know, just we appreciate your willingness to listen and your willingness to take that risk of, okay, I'm gonna push past the respectability because there's something in here that I need to get.
Yeah.
We
Mhm.
so far past respectability.
Well,
But let me tell you the reason why, and it may be some undercover listeners. You know, I know there's, you know, there are haters everywhere, but there might be some undercover listeners, maybe. But it more than it is, it takes a deep breath to move past respectability. I'm telling you, there's so many of us who have felt the duality that just this inner conflict. And when you sit and listen, it speaks to that. It speaks
yeah.
to
Mhm.
the episodes, the sharing, the honest sharing speaks to there is this part of me and this part of me, and they coexist within me, but I
Yeah.
have not allowed both of them to be.
Yeah.
So it is refreshing. It is just as refreshing as it takes some courage to sit and do. I think it is more refreshing than it is courageous to sit and listen. So I just wanted to thank you
Yeah.
for that.
Thank
Really,
you.
Mhm.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
absolutely. And this is just the introductions. So we so appreciate you and who you are. We know this is going to be an amazing conversation, and we have a topic, but we just like to ease our way in. One reason is because oftentimes we don't get to really ask, how are you doing? And so we've had guests up here. Siobhan and I are each other's guest. Oftentimes
Yeah.
we love ourselves. We're gonna talk
Yeah.
about that. But in doing so, whether you are a leader, whether you are a superstar in your own right, whether you are a mom doing it, whoever you are, to have somebody slow down and just ask you how you are doing for real, for real.
Mhm.
It doesn't happen in a sincere way. I mean, how you doing? I'm fine. That's what you're supposed to do.
Mhm.
That's what you're supposed to say. So we slow down and just real talk. First question, Pamela, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Oh, good.
And that is an honest response, because I'm one of those people who understands that hey is enough. And
Mm,
so
Mm.
if I say, "Hey, how are you?" I
mhm,
really do, I really have created space for you to respond because
mhm,
I'm not going to ask that if I
mhm,
don't mean it.
mhm,
So I appreciate you asking. I'm doing well. I am edgy about this post-election fallout and all of the residuals
Mhm.
from the results. Has made me edgy, as if being Black and having a female body isn't enough.
yeah,
So now we have this on top of it. But I am determined to find joy and
Mm.
experience pleasure while we all collectively figure out what we're about to do.
Mhm.
So in that regard, right here, right now, I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. And it feels good to say that honestly. Because had you asked me a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a week ago,
Mhm.
it would have been a completely different story.
yeah.
So I'm doing well today. I'm doing
So
very
good.
well.
So
Mhm.
good. I love how you pulled those two things together, because yes, there is this feeling. I think you said on edge. But I'm a member of the community, so I had the pleasure of listening. I did the replay that
The
was done.
unscripted.
Yeah, the unscripted, but also the deconstruction of pleasure. I just got that
Oh, okay. Okay.
because you all just did that, and
Mhm.
that speaks to what you said, that even though there's this edginess about some things, you are leaning into pleasure and doing things that you enjoy, and just choosing where you lean in. I think that's really good, really good. Siobhan, how are you, ma'am?
Okay, so listen, I am really excited today. Um, I'm trying to contain it because I want to go outside and play with my new toy. So I just got I just got a new car, and I'm really excited about it. So I traded my baby in that I've had for 8 years. Her name was Olivia, and I have Felicia now. So thank
Congratulations.
you. I'm just really
Yes.
feeling excited. And I was riding in her today because after I got off work, I just wanted to go outside and just go for a little drive before we had this recording. But it almost brought me to tears, as I was driving, because I think it's just one of those things, even though I've purchased cars before, this felt like such a big girl, grown girl type purchase where I don't have any regrets about it. Like, and I'm not living above my means or anything like that. It was just like, I'm in my grown girl era. So it just felt like a reflection of where I am in my life. So I'm feeling really excited about that today. So yeah, that's where I
That's so good.
I'm excited for you.
You know, right? She's
am.
Yeah.
smiling different.
I'm
Yeah.
excited.
And you also kind of went back and forth about what you were going to do.
I do.
And so I love that you, again, I guess that's going to be my favorite phrase tonight, but leaning into it. Like
Leaning
I
into
love that you just,
pleasure. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm,
surrender to it and let it go. Yep. Good,
yeah.
good, good, good. Well, I am, I've talked to Pamela about this before, and you know this well. This airs tomorrow, and we are in the week of our annual intensive, and there's just so much that happens to pull that together. We'll be sharing more about that and sharing more about who we are as real women as we move forward. But you can always go anytime you want to go to find
Yeah.
out more. Go to realwomenrock.org and we'll share more with you as we move along. But the annual intensive is this coming weekend. And so I am excited and I am exhausted and I have a million more things to do. So I'm energized. I got to find some energy from somewhere. So I am all the things, and mostly excited about what we have in store because we have an amazing experience set up for the women who are coming. So
Yeah.
that's how I be doing, all of them.
Oh,
Yeah, all of them. All right, so we're ready to jump into our segments, y'all, because we have a special guest with us. We have a topic that is tailor-made, customized for the work that she does. But we want to start with this real talk question. Aside from how you doing, we just want to find out. And I'll start with you, Pamela. Growing up, did you grow up with a lot of self-doubt, or were you a confident young person? If you had to look back at young Pamela, how would you describe her? How would you describe her? Tell us about young Pamela related to her confidence levels.
Let's see. First of all, no, I did not grow up a confident child. I think growing up, first of all, um, if I address the theology that I was born into, I
Yes.
don't think that the theology that is shrouded in suffering and oppression and the muting of my voice
mm,
creates space for confidence to grow,
yeah.
especially if if that's where I spend the majority of my time. So
Mhm.
I don't think I really had I don't think my family, my parents included, had a fair chance at learning it for themselves because they also grew up in the same tradition, and then I was born into it, so nobody really understood. So no, I'll say this, the things I needed to be confident about.
Mhm.
Needing to be sure of myself, needing to not second guess my when I what I felt in my gut. No, I was not confident. I was a kid that got bullied. I was a kid that felt left out and excluded because I thought differently. But there were times that I can recall that I was confident in what my daddy told me and what I thought I knew. So there were times when I would be challenging to adults based off of a conversation I had with my father who was giving me instruction. And then I would go repeat that
Mhm.
and be very confident in my rebuttal when I probably shouldn't have been, just based on context.
Mhm. Mhm.
If I could have had the grounds and the teaching to to help me place that
Mhm.
confidence in the right places. Not that my voice didn't need to be heard, but in context. So
Mhm.
no, I wasn't. That was something that I had to learn. And it was also something that when I tried to, growing up, especially in preteen and teenage, when I tried to express confidence because of my faith tradition, it was like,
Mhm.
no, 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 no.
Mhm.
That's not what godly girls do.
Child,
So,
Mm.
child.
mm-mm,
I'm going first, Siobhan. You next.
Okay, go
yeah.
Chewing at the bit, trying to get it. I so relate to what you just shared. And I think it is a confusing, contradictory theology to say, you know, God loves you. I did hear God loves me, and I did hear that I'm a child of God, but I also heard I'm filthy rags. And
Mm.
I heard, I'm wretched and and all of those things. And because my mother, as you said, my parents and all of those, everybody in my family, I grew up in a very traditional church setting. So all of those folks went through the same thing. So now I can see how not only did they teach it to me, but they lived it out. And so to look at the lives and how they have evolved or devolved, I can see it lived out in their lives. And I just refused, and I'm gonna answer the question directly in a second, but I just refused to do that to my son. And so there's a whole different experience he's having right now. We get to choose where he goes to church, whether he goes to church, what he gets to tell us, what he's thinking and feeling about God. And we have what do you want to know more about? I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
teach world religion. So what do you want to, so he gets to explore and ask questions and not feel, like he's pigeonholed into what his mama was raised in, that kind of thing. It means everything to me to give him a new experience and to teach him that if someone tries to make you feel bad about you not doing this, he's had friends that, you're not saved, or you don't go to church, or all that kind of stuff. And I said, listen, don't ever let anybody. So hopefully he's having a different experience, but mine was this dichotomy of um my family being very proud of me. So because my mother and father weren't together very long, I did a whole lot of trying to prove myself because my daddy wasn't in the house with us. So I was trying to prove how wonderful I was and just
Mm-hmm.
overachiever and all of that. So I did the things, grades, I did the pageants, I did all the things, right? And so I loved hearing how proud they were of me. But I know what that was me compensating for how I really felt about me.
Performance behavior.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was just really trying to make sure you saw all the things I did so you would know I was worth something, because evidently those things made me worth something rather
Mm-hmm.
than being. So I appeared very confident, but I wasn't. That was a long way of saying that. What about you? What about you, Siobhan?
Take us around the corner, preachers. All right.
Yeah,
All
I gotta
right.
preach a comment
I
now.
love it. I love it.
So it's kind of connected the order that we're going in, because mine is similar to the performance piece of it. So even though I grew up in the church. I didn't internalize it in the way that you all are speaking of, I think, until I got older. But younger, it was more of the things that were said to me, and how I was treated growing up, and just the lack of self-confidence I had in my image, in how I looked and who I was as a person. So I overcompensated definitely in school. So I was, excelling, making good grades, an honor roll, and all that kind of stuff. So I know that's where it showed up for me. And then just some of the messaging that I realized as I got older, that replayed in my head, that caused me to doubt myself. Like, oh, you're selfish, or you only think about yourself. You're moody. So it always was this backdrop of something is wrong with me. That suppressed, that ability within me to be confident, because I was holding on to the belief that something is wrong with you. Look how you treat people. So it came out in the way I treated people, and then the decisions that I made added to the thought process and the belief of, look at the decisions that you're making. So then that added to the self-doubt. Something is wrong with you. Look at what you're doing. So you can't be confident because you're a bad and wrong person. So yeah.
That's a big piece of it, because whatever our actions, when you grow up with not only having self-doubt and not feeling confident, but if it's tied to a theology of low self-worth,
Yeah.
then the decisions we make, the consequences of those decisions are a direct result of who we are and how we make bad decisions, right? So you make a good decision, you must be in the favor of the Lord. And if you make a bad decision, you done something wrong, you are wrong.
You are wrong. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
So it had me on this cycle of wrong. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I guess that leads us into the formal conversation, because we're going to talk about self-love, and everyone has an origin story of some type, and maybe yours, you're listening, maybe yours is not directly connected to church. Maybe it is or isn't, but there is some philosophy, there is some thinking behind how you were raised and what your thought process was as you were growing up, that leads to whether or not you have some love for self, whether and what does that even mean? What does that look like? All of the questions we can explore. So we're going to settle in and just ask you to start, maybe, Pamela, taking us on this journey. We heard about your childhood, and I would start by asking you, if you have, what is your level of self-love and how did you get to that? And then, somewhere in there, we'll work on defining it if you'd like, or we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd actually like to define it first.
Yeah.
And I say that because there's always somebody new listening for whatever reason. And a lot of times, let me back up a little bit. One of the issues we have in a lot of spaces, depending on how we were raised and how we were raised to take information in, we come to a conversation with our own concept of what's being talked about.
Talk.
So if I start talking about where I am with self-love, and somebody just uses their definition of it, it may not fit. So I want to start with,
I love it.
What I think it is, just in general. And I feel like if we're talking about self-love, when I'm talking about it, I'm speaking about the regard that someone holds themselves in, the compassion that someone shows themselves. Like, all of this has to do with self, the grace we give ourselves when we make mistakes, the ways in which we talk to ourselves, the way we treat ourselves, also the way we find value in ourselves, where we find our strength, and whether or not we believe we deserve love and happiness. All of that for me is like a generalization of self-love. It's not the one of the tools and practices, maybe going to get massages, bath bombs and oils, that could be a practice of self-love, but
Mhm.
in my mind, that's not how you build it. And
Mhm.
so that's what I would say self-love is.
Mhm.
And where I am on my journey is, honestly, I'm still journeying,
Mhm.
because I don't think I had a real understanding of what self-love looked like for me,
Mhm.
because I've been the therapist for so long, helping people understand what it looks like for them. And
Mhm.
like I said, feeling like I had a grasp on it. And then you go through life, and then things come up, and then with those things that come up feelings, and maybe old issues that you haven't dealt with, which is exactly what has happened with me over the past year. And I've had to sit with, wait a minute, I had the self-love that I needed a year ago, pretty
Totally.
much together,
Yeah.
but I'm in a new space.
Yeah.
And so this new space requires my self-love, number one, to be more intense, and it also looks different. So where I am on my journey is, what does being confident look like for me now?
Mm.
What does giving myself grace look like right now?
Mm.
What does talking to myself gently look like right now? Because
Yeah.
I'm living a different life than I lived a year ago.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if I have an answer that closes that up,
Mhm.
because I feel like the journey that I'm on is still wide open, and I'm working on narrowing it down. But
Yeah.
that's honestly where I am at this moment.
That's so honest. So good. So good. I really want to see, Siobhan, I don't know if you have something you want to add to the definition as you talk about your self-love journey. Anything come to mind?
Oh Lord, I already feel like I'm about to cry on this episode, because as you were explaining the definition, that is and has been the journey for me of the self-compassion, the self-acceptance, the grace, like that is the work that I've
Mhm.
been doing and will continue to do. But that just hit me so hard, because that's what it looks like for me. Like the more I'm able to extend grace, the more I'm able to talk kindly to myself, the more I'm able to just let myself off the hook and not be so critical of every little thing that I do. Like that is self-love for me as well. And just what came to mind was just the harmony internally, not perfection, but just all the different aspects of me working in concert with each other, and
Mhm.
accepting all the pieces of me, is what self love looks like for me. So, yeah, I really
Yes.
appreciate that definition. Yeah.
I want you almost got away with not saying the words I wanted to say, but you right at
Right.
the end you said them. I love it. Because I agree with everything both of you all said. The biggest part I would add to it, and you just said some of it, for me, self love has been accepting all of the pieces of me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have I have had to compartmentalize and hide the sensual, sexual part of me and put
Mm-hmm.
her in a corner because you're not supposed to think those thoughts. You're not supposed to do those things. So stay back there. She's still there. She ain't
Yeah,
going
right
nowhere
there.
because she is
Right.
just as
Mhm.
much a part of me as
Mhm.
the spiritual speaking in tongues part. She right there.
Right
But
there.
I have not been able, there was a time when I wasn't able to bring her to the forefront. Come on, let's commune, let's
Mhm.
talk, enjoy. It has been about acceptance and getting to know all the pieces and parts of me.
Yeah.
And I think you said the word recently, Pamela, integrating those pieces
Mhm.
so that I can um, feel like, you know what, the angry, bitter, resentful, regretful parts of me that came from somewhere. So
Mhm.
instead of me, self-deprecating and feeling like I can't, I have to be ashamed of my feelings, or let's talk, let's commune. Where did that come from? Spend some time with some self-talk that's not self-loathing and negative self-talk. I am getting to know me in a wonderful way and accepting me. That's the journey I'm on. And I love what you said. It is evolving. It's not like I've arrived at some wonderful place. For me, self-love is the journey. It's getting to know who I am along the way and accepting the different pieces. And it's not like I get to see, oh, I don't like the results of when I do that. So I'm gonna do something different because I don't like it. Don't mean I hate me or, or it's just I don't like the results when I let her drive that piece of me drive with these decisions. So it's been a real wonderful journey of self, and that's what we do in Real Women. We really work on getting to know ourselves. So that's been my saving grace.
Yeah.
Any thoughts before I move us along? Any thoughts? Y'all good?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
so
am.
yeah, did you get to say where you are, Siobhan, as it relates to your journey?
Where am I on my journey? It's a constant evolution. Like in this present season of my life, um, hmm, where am I as it relates to self-love? I think I am embracing more of who I am and removing the people in my life that I attached myself to that was a reflection of how I used to feel about myself. So just disconnected from someone that wasn't treating me the way that I was treating myself. But I had this attachment to this person for a number of reasons, but severing that tie has really had me in a reflective space of just realizing, like, man, what was it about that person that had you latching on? And so it has brought me to a place of self-discovery where I'm like, man, I'm so proud of you for severing that tie, because, just celebrating that and then reflecting on how far I've come, and what that says about me and my growth. So I think I'm just kind of embracing the journey, not judging myself for being, connected to that person, trying to understand it, so getting curious about the journey with that person, and then also embracing and celebrating where I am. So it's just I'm just on a journey. That's all I can say. I don't know how to put it into words, but it's just the evolution of ending something that wasn't serving me and then seeing who I am in this space as a result of that. So that's kind of where I am.
I love that. I love that. What you made me think about, and it segues into the question that I have for Pamela, because I love how you worded it. Because here's the first thought I had, not for you, because I know you very well, but in you framing how you have disconnected with this person, you said, what about that person made me connect with them? The first thought I had, because I've been to counseling and still go when I need it, we're talking to I'm talking to a trained counselor and a counselor in training, so I'm getting the good
The good stuff.
Good tonight. And so what I have thought to myself before was, my first thought automatically when I think about connections is what was wrong with me that made me connect with that person, right? And that's not what you said. I love that that's not what you said, but that was an immediate thought for me when it comes to that something's got to be wrong with me. And there's something back there with the way I've been raised and think about things that would cause that. But to segue that thought into a question for you, Pamela, what have you seen in your clients regarding self-love? Maybe that's one.
I was just gonna say that very question that you just asked. What's wrong with me is a big one. And I would also say that the cases vary, the situations with individuals vary. And I wrote, took some notes as I was thinking earlier. One of the things that comes up is relational issues a lot of times. Um, uh, when you're dealing with early childhood trauma
Yeah.
or abandonment
Yeah.
or neglect, those things can be a catalyst and a breeding ground for having a self-love deficit.
Mm-hmm.
Your faith tradition, as my
Mm,
own, can be a breeding ground for a self-love deficit. A lot of people they struggle around their success and their careers,
mm,
Mm-hmm.
so they judge themselves for not being where they think they should be,
Yeah.
or not being in comparison, making comparisons to other people.
mm,
Also plays a part in the self-love deficit. And that question comes up a lot on the tail end
mm,
of what's wrong with me. And I'll always say that there isn't anything wrong with you, but there may be a deficit of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
mm,
And just because there's a deficit doesn't mean it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're talking about the subject of self-love, that's a skill that's learned, which
Mm-hmm.
means it's a skill that's taught. And if
yeah.
nobody taught you,
Talk.
Mm,
then
mm,
how would you know?
yeah.
So when we get back into these same corners over and over again, and we confront these same questions, well, how did I end up staying with this narcissist for so long? And why did I let this boss or this supervisor talk to me like this for so long? What's
Mm,
wrong with me?
Mm-hmm.
We gotta go, we gotta move that what's wrong with me over to the side, and
So,
maybe ask the question, what didn't I learn?
woo.
What
mm,
skill what skill didn't was I supposed to learn that I didn't learn? Was
yeah.
it self-confidence? Was it using my voice and advocating for myself?
Yeah.
Somebody was supposed to teach us self-love.
Yeah.
So I usually have to start out with that. Just
Mm,
before we go further into self-loathing and self-blame and feeling like we're responsible for something that we don't have the skill for,
Mm-hmm.
let's go a little bit deeper and talk about where the deficits are.
mm,
Mm-hmm.
And
mm,
then we figure out, is that something that you ignored, that you just didn't, weren't intentional about learning? Or was that something you were supposed to learn a long time ago, that somebody who was responsible for your care was
Mm-hmm.
supposed to teach you?
yeah.
And so, that's when it comes to clients, when it comes to myself, that's what I mean by self love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to do this for myself. Speaking of clients, I have to be my own. So
Yes.
I have
Mhm.
to ask myself that when I start to, self-deprecate and blame and nitpick myself. People with performance issues, we nitpick.
Yes.
Mm,
So,
mm,
but when I start to do that, I think to myself, okay, so what am I missing? What's the deficit? And
Mm-hmm.
where was I supposed to learn that from?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So good.
Mm.
Go ahead, Siobhan.
Lord Jesus.
And you've also got clients. So what's coming up for you?
Yeah, oh Lord. I'm just thinking about um the greatest gift that was given to me as I started my own therapy, like sitting with my therapist, is similar to what Pamela was saying, like understanding that there's nothing wrong with me and understanding who I am and where I've come from. Like how at some point I surmised or I concluded that I'm supposed to have it all together, but how would
Where
that
that come
be?
from?
Mhm,
Where
mhm,
did that come from? One, I'm not perfect, and then with my background, how could I have? How would I not have ended up right here? You know what I mean? So just
mhm,
that understanding brought so much relief for me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
right, who did
Mm-hmm.
nobody doggone taught me? You know, like
mhm,
how was I supposed to come? I'm supposed to read a book and then get it all? Like that's
mhm,
not how it happened. So that's been the greatest gift for me to understand that my experiences, my story, it creates who I am, and I
Yeah.
don't have to beat myself up. I have this criteria that I pull out of the sky, and this is what I'm measuring myself against,
Right.
without it, with and ignoring everything that I've gone through and just who I am and how I'm wired. Like, so that has been just the greatest gift, to take myself off the hook so that
Mm.
I can just be,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Mhm.
unapologetically just be with everything, all of who I am. So that's been so helpful. So that's the understanding and the lens that I go in when I am counseling the clients that I have, just helping them to understand how give yourself a break,
I was,
Mhm. Mhm.
I
give
was like,
yourself a break. It's all right. Yeah.
and so, in all of the work that we do with real women and the coaching and the mentoring that I do, I totally agree. We see it all the time. Women, especially Black women, we're the hardest on ourselves.
Mhm.
And we produce the absolute most. Like we are
Mhm.
doing
Yeah.
all the things.
All the things.
Mhm.
So
Sure.
it has helped me, and I know I only have a couple more questions for you, but and we'll round out with some of this. But you made me think about the fact that when we start getting into that self-deprecating, I have to flip the script too, because we will, if we let ourselves, we will write pages and pages of things that we felt like we didn't do right or that
Mhm.
are wrong. But to flip the script and ask, so what are you doing right? What has been
Mhm.
working? Like what are you a winner of, a champion of? Like what do you knock out of the park? Whatever,
Mhm.
and it takes some women, some of us, just too long to think about
Mhm.
that and celebrate something for
Mhm.
ourselves. And so I love that what I'm hearing from both of you, and what we try to do is stop that as soon as we can, as soon as,
Mhm.
whether it's in conversation or within ourselves, stop that so that we can process why we're there and what caused it, but then move on to what can move us past it. So
Mhm.
thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Um, so when you are, Pamela, in these conversations with your clients, because we are all getting some therapy right now, we are being therapized, all of us now who are listening and watching. What do you think hinders self-love, or what keeps
Mhm.
us from hearing what you're saying, hearing the words that are coming out of your mouth at the point that we know we need to shift? What is keeping us from doing so?
Is that for me?
Yes, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Mhm.
A lot of it is just the training, the nurturing. We didn't learn it overnight.
Yeah,
We didn't learn to self-deprecate overnight. We didn't
yeah,
learn to speak ill of ourselves overnight.
yeah,
That is something that was practiced.
yeah,
That was something that was probably modeled. Like I
yeah,
said, somebody who's supposed to teach us. I think back sometimes about certain things that I did, that I'm learning now at 46, that I think, oh man, my mama didn't even my mama wasn't even doing that. She
mm,
probably didn't know either. So it's
mhm.
like, it's those things. And also cultural differences
Talk
can
about it.
Mhm.
keep people from internalizing what they need to, and about self-love and how they're supposed to treat and honor themselves. Because for example, I was working with an Asian family. It's been years ago, maybe 15 years ago, and the one of the children that I was working with was so accomplished, in her extracurricular activities, in her sports, in her academics. And she would just stiffen up anytime I would compliment her, or anytime I would praise her for, or anytime I would do what you said, Trinace. Tell me something that you did really well this week. Brag on yourself a little bit. Culturally, that was a no-no.
Mm,
You
Mm.
know, that was a no-no. Bragging and boasting on yourself, we may see that as something that is self-motivating, and something that gives us what we need, the drive that we need. It makes us feel good, gives us that dopamine hit. But culturally,
Yeah.
that may be a barrier to you really understanding the concept of self-love and how it can be beneficial, because some cultures they consider what we consider self-love to be self-centered and
Yes.
egotistical.
Yes.
So I did want to say that
Yeah.
a
The
cultural difference will mess it up too.
connection. Thank you for that. The connection between, even in, I'm gonna say ours too, especially from a religious standpoint, between conceit.
Yes.
That's a very thin
Mm.
line.
It
So
is. Yeah.
it's and on top of that, if we know how to deflect. So if I have self-esteem issues, if I have self-love issues, and I see someone who has some confidence about themselves, I'm automatically gonna call that conceit, because
Mhm.
you too high and haughty and
Mhm.
nose
And
up at me and sitting up on your high horse. She thinks she all that. No, you think
mhm.
I'm
I'll
all
And
that.
call it.
yeah, and if we are taught to not acknowledge our greatness,
Yeah.
someone else doing it
Yes.
makes us uncomfortable.
Yes.
So not only am I not going to allow myself to do it because I don't want to bring the feeling up for myself, when
Mhm.
you do it,
Mhm.
I don't want you to do it, because then I still have to feel the discomfort of, oh, you're not supposed to do that. And let's
Mhm.
be very clear, self-love is about the treatment of how you treat yourself, how
Yes.
you view and value yourself. Being
Mhm.
egotistical, being self-centered, being narcissistic has to do with an exaggerated view of yourself, an
Mm.
exaggerated self-centering.
Mm.
When you saturate the context with
Mm.
everything has to be about you,
Mhm.
that's egotistical and self-centered.
Mhm.
Acknowledging your accomplishments, acknowledging what you're good at, that that's not self-centered, because isn't that what you get asked when you do a job interview?
Yeah,
What are
yeah,
you
Mhm.
yeah.
good at?
Tell me
What are
about
Right.
your
that.
strengths
Yeah.
in your,
Mhm.
you that's what an interview is. So
Yep.
how is it, if we're going to talk about it for being what it is, how is it that it's not wrong when we do it when we have a job interview,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it's
Mhm.
wrong when we do it if we having a casual conversation? Girl, I killed this presentation at work.
And
What's wrong with
Mhm.
that?
Yeah.
did.
Mhm.
Ain't nothing wrong with it. You just made me think about the I don't know why this came to mind, but like a ball, a basketball or something that you would bounce, and then the deflation of it, just
Mhm.
the shrinking of it comes
Mhm.
Mhm.
from us, not being able to speak life into ourselves, about ourselves.
Mhm.
And that ball just ain't gonna bounce, right?
Nope.
but
Mhm.
but the more we are willing to give ourselves some air and speak life to ourselves, that I used to say, Pamela, that I needed, and this was because of my Christian religious background, I needed a justification for shining brightly in the
Mhm.
world.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
needed, I needed to find a reason to do it, right?
Mhm.
And this warms my heart, because I'm going to ask you this during our spiritual nugget in a sec, but um, this was my theological reasoning for my self-love, in the same way that greatest commandment theology is for you and your husband. That the moniker that I developed for myself is, I come from light, I am light, so I won't dim my light.
Mhm.
And the idea was that I come from the source of light. I am the creator's creation, and all things point, the stars, the trees, the grass, the sun, the moon, all things point to the creator being amazing. And the creator created me. The creator created stars and me.
Mhm. Mhm.
Created the
Mhm.
moon and me. Like the planet was and me. Like those, I am in that frame. So the idea that I come from light, and for me, the biblical framework, I am light. All of the things, if you got to look in the Bible, you're going to find me as salt and light, right? If you look outside of that, I illumine and help others. And then as a result of that, I can't dim that. That would be thievery to not give to the world what is who I am and who God is in me. And so that has helped me take a deep breath and do something daring and take a risk in the world and do something that I wouldn't normally do, or that would have in my deflated state I would not have done, but just to go ahead and give myself life and permission to do it. I said all of that to say we sometimes need an understanding or a rationale. When I said, what hinders it, self-love, I think it's lack of understanding too, of just who we are. Some people need to be able to connect 1+1+1. Oh my goodness, that makes sense. Like a light bulb can kind of go off when people read your husband's book, Breaking All the Rules, or hear Greatest Commandment Theology. It adds up the pieces. Like, oh my God, I see it. So if you wouldn't mind just adding the pieces up for us, and giving us Greatest Commandment Theology, because to me it does connect and make sense out of this concept of self-love. Could you do that for us?
Sure. I noted that as well, because that's curated by my husband, Christian Smith. And you can get his book, Breaking All the Rules.
Got it. It's
An ancient framework to modern theology. You can actually get connected with the ecosystem at thefaithcommunity.org, and you can find your way to his book there. But he curated the Greatest Commandment theology while he was in seminary, because he was determined not to perpetuate the same harmful theology that the majority of us grew up with. So Greatest Commandment theology comes from Matthew 22, verses 36 through 40. And what Greatest Commandment theology says is our love for God is expressed through how we love our neighbor. Our love for our neighbor is a reflection of how we love ourselves. So you can't fully express your love for God without love being extended toward your neighbor. And your love for your neighbor is a reflection of how you love yourself. So the reflection of how you love yourself determines how you love your neighbor, and how you love your neighbor is an expression of how you love God.
I love that.
And to your point, Trinace, about we need what did you say? We need a reason. We need what was the word you used?
Girl.
We need we I want us to get to a point where self-love can happen without terms and conditions.
Girl.
Because that's a big part of that self-acceptance. When like you were talking about, old girl in the back, because she's still back there. She got a hand on her hip because she waiting. And it's like being able to engage her, being able to create space for her without the fine print.
Yes.
Without the terms and conditions. Only if you do this, then we'll,
I think the word was justification.
Yes, that was the word, justification.
Yeah. And it's so I think it's the saddest thing, that we have to talk our way into or make sense of in order. But I also think, as you mentioned earlier, we have not been taught. So the teaching has to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's why I appreciate what you just said.
Yeah. So the questions are, so when you start, if you need, for those who are getting started needing a justification, you just turn those questions around. Why don't you deserve love and happiness?
Wow.
Why wouldn't you be worthy and valuable? Why shouldn't you meet your personal goals? Why shouldn't you talk to yourself nicely? Why shouldn't you create boundaries that keep you safe and protect you and causes people to honor you as you honor yourself? Why shouldn't you?
Yeah.
That's a good place to start.
Yeah.
If you're feeling icky about it, You know how the kids say they get the ick, whatever that means. You know, if you get the ick, then you ask yourself those questions, because those are a part of self-love. Ask yourself why you don't deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Mm-hmm. And
Mhm.
I appreciate you asking those questions because, or posing those questions for people, because the thing that used to irritate my soul is when I started this journey of going to therapy and just learning more about self love, the blanket statements that people would make of, you just need to love yourself. But like, you
Mhm.
just love yourself. Like is that simple? And it used to
Mhm.
irritate me because I'm like, well, how? Show
What
me
does that
how. What does
mean?
that mean? What does it look like? I haven't
Mhm.
been taught, so I need to understand. And so it just made it seem like there was a pill that I could take. Just what store do I get self love from so that I can feel better? So it used to irritate me. And even when I hear it now, it's like it's not that simple because it is a journey, and there are so many different things that's connected to us not loving ourselves or having that deficit, like you said, that it's just getting in there and exploring and getting curious and asking ourselves those pointed questions. So I love those questions that you shared just to start with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I could, to your point, Siobhan, I actually feel like not not giving it a tangible definition is the
Mm-hmm.
reason why it became so marketable.
Yeah.
That's the reason why you get charged $350 to have a 2-day spa experience.
Girl.
That's why you got 50 million apps. That's why you
Mm-hmm.
have all of these people who claim to be the shaman of this and the seek of this, and then we can do this, whatever therapy. People are actually just making up
Yeah.
Yeah.
because we started talking about self love.
Bless you.
Bless you. And nobody said, so this is what it is. This is what it looks like. This is
Yeah.
what we're missing. And before that conversation could get around, everybody commercialized self
Yeah.
love.
Talk
Yeah.
So
about it.
everybody was running, trying to figure out how to spend more money. Where am I going to get
Mm-hmm.
my nails done? Where am I
Right.
going to get my hair done? Which there is nothing wrong with that. Like I started out with, that can be part of it. If that's something you enjoy, if that's something that makes you feel better, but it's not how you build it. And so
Right.
because we didn't make it plain enough so that people
Mm-hmm.
could understand it, then people got manipulated into thinking the way they heal from it is I got to spend my money.
Mm,
Right.
mm, mm.
When you
Right.
can sit around and be dolled up with a 24-inch bust down and nice nails and still not love
Feel
yourself. You could
that.
be fly as the day is long and still you can be cute and still self-loathe.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Still.
Absolutely. Still.
Absolutely. This is
Mm.
good to me.
So
Okay, so I got something to say, and then I want you all to be thinking about what if there were some advice as we're closing and wrapping up, what you would be giving, because I want to honor your time. Thank you so much for this time. But you just made me think about um, the idea that we come to in Real Women, that everything we need, all of the answers are already in us. Like we really don't have to consult anybody. We really don't. It's that we have not been trained that everything, or taught that everything is already in here already. Like my
Mhm.
thoughts, my gut, my intuition, my heart,
Mhm.
my mind, the decisions that I really can trust those, all of
Mhm.
the above, if I give myself space and grace,
Mhm.
because it doesn't mean I'm going to always make the right decisions, but I trust me to manage my life.
Mhm.
And we don't trust ourselves, so how can we love ourselves, right? And
Mhm.
mm,
so one of the things that we have given back to women in Real Women is agency. We have given
mm,
back to women the journal and the pen, or given back to women a voice. You don't come to a Real Women Sister Circle and someone's just talking to you for an hour or talking at you for 2 hours. We talk to each other, because what we find is, as you hear your sister speak, not just the speaker or the facilitator, but as you hear your sister speak, something comes up in you and says, you know what? That's true for me. Let me tell you what I just figured out for myself. It is a beautiful self-discovery that can happen if we give ourselves the room and the space. That's what just came up for me when you were talking.
Because we overcome by the word of our testimony.
Come
Talk,
on.
talk,
Yes.
talk.
I mean, it ain't all bad. I don't throw out the baby and the bathwater. And that
Right.
is true. So, yes, that is very churchy. That's scripture. We overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. That's Bible. But
Very
what
nice.
you just said is simple terms. You never
Yeah.
know who you may help when you tell your story. That's
Yes.
exactly what that scripture means.
Yes.
So, you
Yes.
are absolutely right. We need to share. That is community. How
Yes.
we heal better in community.
Mhm.
Not in isolation. That's what Bell Hooks said.
Yeah.
We heal better in community. We heal better when we share our stories because then you get to see it's not just me.
Yeah.
It's not just me. And maybe I don't need to spin my wheels trying to figure out what to do. Maybe I could listen to what my sister did, or maybe I could, and I could glean from that, or I could, and tweak what I'm doing, or, maybe she could show me what she did.
Mhm.
Either way, there is some forward movement
Yeah.
when we do this, when we talk to each other and not just in our little bubbles trying to all figure it out on our own. Yeah.
Good. Thank you
Yeah.
for that. Lord have mercy. That was a good little ride right there. Okay. So the question to you all to close is if you were to give someone something regarding self-love, whether it's a word of wisdom, some loving encouragement, um, about tapping into it or basking in it, like Siobhan, where would you take us as it relates to self-love as a closing thought?
So what's coming up for me is there's nothing wrong with you.
Hmm.
When we start there, if nothing
Mm.
is wrong with me, then I get to just get curious. I keep using that word over and over because that's really been helping me. I just get to get curious about the things that I've done, where I've been, who I am. I just get to explore without labels, without judgment. I just get to like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Oh, wow, okay, now I get it. So I get to just be with myself when I
Mhm.
embrace the truth that there's nothing wrong with me.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
So good. Thank you. Pam, what's coming up for you, ma'am?
Let's see. I would say take the time to get to know yourself because
Mhm.
you are your first and most important relationship.
Mhm.
And the way energy comes back to you is determined a lot about what you put out for yourself and what you put out, towards other people. So just sit and get to know yourself, like Siobhan said. Be curious, and also understanding that self-love takes introspection.
Mhm.
So self-love isn't about picking apart what everybody else is doing, judging what everybody else is doing, trying to see if you better than, so it's not that. It's looking inward and
Mhm.
and figuring out for yourself what your strengths are and the places are that you can grow. That's part of building that relationship. So it
Mhm.
takes introspection, and then it takes intention,
Mm.
because it's risky, because you risk discomfort, because you
Mm.
risk having to lose some relationships because you don't act the same, you don't take the same stuff. You have to be willing to take the risk on yourself to be able to create the space, and then live the life you deserve, live the life you desire, live the life you deserve. But you have to spend time with yourself first.
Mhm.
You have to spend time with yourself and figure out, do I like this thing because I was told I was supposed to,
Mhm.
or do I like something else? Like, am I repressing parts of myself? And if so, why am I doing that? Do I judge parts of myself? And why do I do that? And then when you do those things, finding places and space to give those parts some air to breathe. Repressed person is not a happy person.
Ooh.
So we got to be intentional. We got to be, introspective and pursue the life we deserve.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
good.
So good.
Listen, I have one thought and then we'll figure out a way to round this out. And y'all be stealing my stuff because I had so similar thoughts. But I'm gonna just add um, a practical thought I had based on comparison, just my own personal experience. That comparison is a trap. It is a trap that it is one of those mazes that it is very difficult to find yourself out of when you start comparing yourself and allowing that to be the gauge, because
Mhm.
one day you'll find yourself and say, oh, I'm better than so and so, or I look better than them, or I feel better than them, I got more than them. That one day you'll find, but around the corner, down around the bend, somewhere down the street, you are bound. Comparison is a trap. You are bound to find um, some self-deprecating thoughts, and so I have personally had to shut down social media at different points in my life. I have had
Mhm.
to turn off people that I love, or and admire, but something was going on in my heart that didn't allow me to focus on all of the wonderful things that I have going on. And so I had to shut that down. So whatever it takes to do the introspection that has been talked about, to really dig in and ask yourself that flip question that was asked, why not, why not you? Whatever that takes, go there because it is worth it. It is worth it. This has been such a rich conversation. An hour has flown by.
Yes, it did.
Thank you so much,
I
Pamela.
thoroughly enjoyed it. I
Thank
thoroughly enjoyed it.
you. Gift.
Yeah.
We could have gone so many places. Listen, if y'all would not mind, do me a favor, show this woman some love. Go to therapyandtheology.com. Look her up.
Yeah.
She got a booking tab. Go book her. Book her.
I'm
You
I'm
believe
actually not taking clients at the moment. I think I've
it?
adjusted that on my website. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
not
good.
taking clients at the moment, but
Yeah.
you can there that site is still up. There are still helpful blogs there. There are helpful information there. You can also connect with me at, like I said earlier, the faithcommunity.org. Trinace was speaking earlier about our ecosystem. We get in there, we deconstruct harmful theology. We talk about a variety of topics because a lot of us are leaving faith spaces and trying to regain our sense of agency, the same way
Right.
you're trying to help real talk, you're trying to help the women regain their sense of agency. So we are doing a lot of the same thing. So if you want to get in on those conversations, please join us there. And Trinace also mentioned Holy Smoke Cigars and Spirituality. We smoke, we drink, we talk about the Bible, we deconstruct, we reconstruct in some places. We reimagine all the time. We reimagine all the time because we believe that God intends for us to live a life abundantly here, and we believe that living abundantly doesn't have to involve harming other people. And if it doesn't harm anybody else, why do we have to be so convinced that we are being harmful to God? But that's a different story for a different day. Y'all
That's
come
right.
see us. Y'all come see me. I'm going to come back and see y'all. And hope y'all have a
Yeah.
good week.
You know, you said it. So I'm look, when it's time to take it back, I'm gonna say you said as you come back.
Yeah, yeah.
So good to have you. Y'all, this has been amazing. I know you got something to share with us. I know you do as a result of this conversation. Would you mind letting us know how this has impacted you, where you are on your self-love journey? We would love to hear from you. Go to speakpipe.com/real women real talk, or email us at info@realwomenrock.org. And you can always just visit us at realwomenrock.org. Doesn't get any easier than that. Go to realwomenrock.org, where we are creating safe spaces for women to do personal development work, soul work on themselves. this is an opportunity for you to get a sneak peek into what our sister circles are like. We have real conversation, and we don't just have somebody talking at you, we talk with each other. And we would absolutely love for you to visit our virtual sister circles, our live sister circles. And then we have an intensive coming up. You're seeing this the week of the intensive, but there are a couple of seats left for you if you would like to attend. So please go to realwomenrock.org. We have, as soon as you go there, an intensive flyer will pop up, or you can go to /intensive, go to the intensive tab and find out more information. We would love for you to join us physically in Cambridge, Maryland, where we are focused on the Win Her Circle. And we really want this whole self-love journey, this winner's mindset, the idea that you are worth it. You are worth taking this journey into the fullness of who you're created to be. We want to help you do that. And so join us this weekend for that. Any last words, y'all? Y'all good?
This has been good for my soul. I hope y'all have enjoyed it as much as we have.
Mine
So
as
thank
well.
you. Thank you
Yeah.
once again,
Very
family.
cathartic. Thank y'all for this
Yes.
space.
Thank you. Thank you, Pam. We will see y'all in the next episode.
Yeah, thank y'all. Y'all have a good evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.